This build did not start with a failure. It started with a charging habit repeated every day. 9 months later, the battery is down 7%. That loss is permanent. Ignore this pattern, and you are slowly converting your range into a 5-figure mistake. Subscribe for Tesla insights that help you avoid costly mistakes. Proof setup. This is not guesswork. This comes from how lithium-ion batteries behave under stress over time. What you are seeing on the screen is not the start of the problem. It is the result. Inside the battery, changes begin much earlier. Small imbalances, temperature stress, and charge conditions slowly affect how the cells store energy. At this stage, everything still looks normal on the display. The percentage does not move. There is no warning, but the battery is already shifting. Different stress patterns can lead to the same outcome: reduced capacity that cannot be recovered. And most of it builds quietly, long before the health number drops. That is the part most owners never see. The system shows you the final number, not what happened to reach it. So before getting into the causes, understand this clearly. By the time you notice the loss, the process behind it has already been running for months. What 7% costs? 7% does not sound serious until you convert it into real use. On a long-range Model Y, that is roughly 20 to 22 miles of usable range gone. Not temporarily, permanently. Every time you charge the car, you are now filling a battery that gives you less distance than it did before. The cost of charging stays the same, but the return drops. You are paying for energy that no longer delivers the same range. Over time, that gap builds. Across months and years of driving, that lost efficiency can add up to well over $1,000 in charging value, depending on how often you use the car and where you charge. Then comes resale. Battery health is one of the first things buyers look at. When that number drops faster than expected, confidence drops with it. That can reduce the value of the car by a few $1,000s. So that 7% is not small. It is lost range, reduced efficiency, and money quietly leaking out every time you drive. Cause 1. Cold plus high charge. This is where a lot of quiet damage begins. Many owners plug in their car without thinking about battery temperature. The car has been sitting overnight or parked in cold weather, and charging starts immediately. It feels normal. It feels safe. But a cold battery does not accept energy the same way. At lower temperatures, lithium ions move more slowly inside the cells. When you combine that with charging to a high level, especially toward 90 or 100%, the stress inside the battery increases. Under these conditions, some lithium can begin to deposit in ways that are not ideal for long-term health. This is one of the known pathways behind capacity loss in lithium-ion batteries, and it has been studied in detail. The problem is, nothing looks wrong. The screen shows charging. The percentage climbs normally, but underneath, the battery is working harder than it should. Repeat this pattern over time, and what feels like a safe routine becomes one of the starting points of permanent capacity loss. Subscribe if you want to avoid habits that quietly damage your battery. Cause 2. BMS drift. Most owners rely on one number. 80% feels safe. 20% feels low. It looks precise, so it feels reliable. But that number is not a direct measurement of what is happening inside the battery. It is an estimate calculated by the battery management system. The system uses voltage, temperature, and past driving and charging patterns to predict the state of charge. It is constantly adjusting, constantly estimating. Over time, that estimate can slowly shift away from the battery's actual internal condition. This is where drift begins. You may think you are charging within a safe range, but the battery could be operating slightly higher or lower than what the screen shows. The difference is small, and it does not trigger any warning. The car still behaves normally. That is why most owners never notice it. But small misalignment, repeated over hundreds of charge cycles, starts to matter. It can push the battery closer to less stable conditions without you realizing it. The number on the screen is useful, but it is not the full picture. And relying on it alone can quietly increase long-term stress on the battery. Cause 3. Cold fast charging. Fast charging feels efficient. You stop, plug in, and expect the car to refill quickly. But temperature changes how the battery handles that speed. In cold conditions, lithium ions move more slowly inside the cells. When high power is pushed into the battery during that state, the system has to work harder to manage the flow of energy. This increases internal stress compared to charging at a stable temperature. This is not just theory. Studies on electric vehicles show that repeated fast charging, especially under less optimal conditions, can accelerate battery wear over time. Tesla built battery preconditioning to reduce this exact stress. It prepares the battery before fast charging, so it reaches a more stable temperature. Many owners skip this step. The charge still works, the car still fills, nothing appears wrong. But without proper preparation, that high power is being delivered into a battery that is not fully ready. Repeat this often, and that added stress begins to build into long-term capacity loss. Cause 4. Daily high state of charge. This is the most common habit, and it builds damage slowly over time. Many owners charge their car to 90 or 100% every day. It feels responsible. You wake up with full range, no planning, no concern about running low. But a high charge level means the battery is sitting at a higher internal voltage for longer periods. And that is where the stress begins. At elevated voltage, chemical reactions inside the battery become more active. Over time, that increases wear on the internal structure of the cells. It is not something you feel while driving. It is not something the car warns you about. Everything looks normal. The car drives the same. The screen shows a full battery. But inside, the battery is spending more time in a state that is less stable for long-term health. Charging to 100%, occasionally for a long trip is fine. The system is designed for that use. The problem is repetition. Doing it every day keeps the battery under continuous strain. Over months and years, this pattern leads to faster capacity loss compared to staying within a moderate charge range. Fix, control protocol. Now here is how you reduce that stress going forward. Not complicated, just controlled habits you apply consistently. Step 1. Keep your daily charge limit in a moderate range. For regular use, keep it around 70 to 85%. This keeps the battery away from constant high voltage and reduces the time it spends under higher internal stress. You still keep enough range for daily driving without pushing the battery to its upper limit every night. Step 2. Avoid letting the battery drop too low before charging. Try to stay above 15 to 20% where possible. Very low levels increase strain during the next charge cycle and can affect how the system manages balance over time. Keeping a buffer helps the battery operate in a more stable range. Step 3. Use battery preconditioning before fast charging. Before using a fast charger, let the car prepare the battery. This brings it closer to an optimal temperature, so it can accept high power more smoothly and with less internal stress. These are not strict rules. They are simple adjustments. Once they become routine, they reduce the conditions that lead to long-term capacity loss. Final thought. This kind of battery loss is not random. It is a sequence. Cold charging, high charge levels, fast charging without preparation, and small system drift all add up over time. Individually, each one may not seem serious. Combined, they create the conditions for permanent capacity loss. And most of it happens quietly, long before the number on your screen starts to drop. So now the question is simple. Where does your battery stand? Go into your car, open the service section, and check your battery health. If you are seeing a faster drop than expected, there is a reason behind it. If you want clear Tesla insights that actually save you money and avoid expensive mistakes, subscribe. In the next video, I will break down how to read that battery number properly and what it actually tells you about your car.